What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can stop beating the drum. So this is one of those common things that a lot of wide receiver coaches teach, a lot of people who have done over the years at the top of a route like a comeback, a curl, a dig. They teach to beat the drum with their hands, and today we're going to talk about why that's bad and how you guys can avoid that. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it teaches you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to know the exact exercises you should be doing in the gym to improve on-field play and the exact field drills wide receivers should be doing, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate wide receiver training schedule. What you'll get access to is a full month of daily gym and on-field workouts for wide receivers broken down with sets, reps, and a video example of each drill. So check out that very first link below if you're interested in something like that, fellas. Let's get started. So now, at the top of the route, beating the drum is what this wide receiver does. That is essentially, they call it beating the drum because it looks like you're playing the drums. That's where your hands do unnecessary movement and you try to move them as fast as you can, like this wide receiver does here. Now, people do this because it helps you come to balance, it helps you slow down, but also it helps you keep your feet active. That's the whole reasoning behind it. That's why people teach this in the first place. But the thing about that is it gives a DB plenty of time to react and plenty of time to drive on the ball. Now, a lot of people hate on this when people talk about, oh, you shouldn't beat the drum. A lot of people are like, well, oh, why do NFL players do it? NFL players don't do it, and we're going to be showing you some examples of them not doing it in a second after we break down this clip. So when we go up to the top of the route, what is a DB trying to do? He's trying to and it all comes down to, like, let's say you're running a comeback, this like curl variation right here. What are we trying to do on every route? We're trying to sell fade. We're trying to make the DB think that the quarterback is throwing this thing over the top. We're running deep. So he is reading a couple things. He's looking at a change in my speed. He's looking at a change in my stride, and he's looking at a change in my pad level. So if you get up to the top of the break and you're selling vertical, but then you start taking all these choppy steps with your feet, all those choppy movement with your hand, that is wasted time at the top of the break that I do not need. The whole point of training, the whole point of working out in the off season is to do what? To make yourself 1% better, but also it's to eliminate wasted motion. Eliminating wasted motion is the name of the game in at any position in any sport. So this is wasted motion. I could slow down at a break point without doing this, without chopping the hands, without chopping the feet. What you want to do to get in and out of a break is you want to rely solely on your hip drop. The hip drop is what's going to slow you down, because when you guys beat the drum, you have a slow sink of your hips. When you take all these choppy steps, all those choppy movement with your hand, that DB is looking at your hips. So if you have a slow sink of your hips because you are doing that beat the drum, you're just giving that DB more time to recover. You're giving him extra time to stop. We want to be able to run a 15 back to 12-yard comeback, stop on a dime at 15 with that hip drop, and be able to get out of it as quick as possible. So I'm going to play this full speed, and then we're going to talk about how wide receivers can do that. So when you come up to the top of the route, fellas, let's avoid beating the drum. Let's try to have natural hands. So what do I mean by natural hands? I mean, you want to think of a route. Like, let's say you're running a 15 back to 12-yard comeback. Again, this is the example we're going to look at right now. 15 back to 12. Your hands want to run in and run out. You never want to change your hands. You want to keep your body movement completely natural, because when you change up your body movement, you change up what you're doing. That is wasted motion. So now this clip right here, before we get into this route from Justin Jefferson, we're going to show a route from Justin Jefferson, which is a perfect comeback route. And this is what you guys should try to model. But this break right here, this is what people will do now. I say don't beat the drum. So now what they'll do at the break is that their hands go dead. And that's a great way to get stuck at the break. So the whole reason that wide receiver coaches teach the young kids this, and that's when it's the toughest habit to break. When you're a young wide receiver, you need to break these bad habits early, because all it's going to do is just trickle into when you're a high school player, when you're a college player, and it's just going to go on and on and on. You have to break these bad habits early. So now what guys will do when I say don't beat the drum, they'll get to the top of the break and do this. Their hands will go dead. So the whole reason people taught beating the drum in the first place is to keep their feet active. Because when you come up to the top of the route and your hands don't move, what happens to your feet? Your feet don't move. It's just like when you're running a 40-yard dash, fellas. I equate that to everything, because everybody knows about a 40-yard dash and trying to run fast. When you're running a 40, if you run with your hands behind your back, your time is significantly going to be slower. Just like the top of the break, if you don't use your hands, your feet are going to be significantly slower because you're using 50% of your body. You're not using your hands. So make sure, fellas, we don't beat the drum, because when you run a 40, you don't take choppy arm swings. You have powerful arm swings. You have long arm swings, full range of motion, but you also don't run with your hands behind your back. So that's what you want to think at the top of the route. You don't want to be that guy that has their hands go dead, because when your feet stop moving and then you drift off of the break, you pop up because your hands aren't moving and you aren't running out of it. Guess what that does? That gives the DB time to react. Yeah, I might have stopped on a dime, but as soon as that DB feels your hips drop, he's thinking, oh shit, I got beat. I'm going to try to drive on this thing. So we got to make sure that we eliminate wasted time at the top of the break, fellas. Do not waste time by chopping your hands. Do not waste time by having your hands go dead and you get stuck at that break point. Let's play this thing again, full speed. Now, again, great job by this receiver selling fade. Great job pushing vertical. And he did a good job stopping, but we can't get stuck. We have to get in and get out with as little wasted motion as possible. So now, here's the clip I'm referring to with Justin Jefferson. He's running a comeback. He's able to get out of this in 3 steps. Now, I'm not a big steps guy. I'm not that guy who's going to sit here and tell you, hey, every single route needs to be, you need to get out of a comeback in 3 steps always. Because it's kind of unrealistic. If you don't have the perfect foot placement, the perfect drop, you're probably going to end up taking 5 steps. Now, you see it very rarely in the NFL, people get out in 3. So this is an incredible route, and I'm not saying it has to be 3 steps, but I want you to pay attention to his hands and his hips. So let's play this thing full speed. So he's running this comeback, and when he snaps, you see how his hands don't die, but his hands don't beat the drum either. And Jefferson, I'm just going to say, he's one of the best route runners in the game right now. So when he makes this break, he's not here, and he's not beating the drum with his hands. He's not doing all this quick movement, all these choppy steps to get out of the break. What gets him out of the break? It's the hip drop. That is what will get you out of the break, fellas. You dropping your butt down and you bringing your chin, like there's a string attached to your chin, and somebody is pulling that string to your knee. They call that a trigger step because that triggers your hips to drop into the break. So, fellas, when you guys are running routes, you're running a route like a 5-yard hitch, you're running a 12 back to 10-yard curl, 15 back to 12 comeback. That first step of the break point has to be that snap down. It is not a chop of your hands. It is not a chop of your feet. Now, a lot of wide receivers physically maybe don't have the balance, the explosion to do those things. That's what you should be working on in the offseason and trying to train. That's why it's so important that your hips are flexible. That's why it's so important that you stretch. That's why it's so important that you do explosive movements in the gym, like box jumps, power cleans, to work on that fast twitch, but also have the flexibility and the mobility to drop low enough. Because if you don't have that, you will not be able to get to this position consistently. A lot of wide receivers who don't have that will try to snap down and they'll bend at their waist and they'll lean forward. And they'll be off balance, they'll be falling forward. You have to have both. You have to train those aspects of your game physically so we have the mental IQ or the know-how to go out onto the field and actually execute them by watching videos like this, understanding how routes are ran. It's got to be a combination of both. You can't have one or the other. You can't be just this physical specimen and then go out there and not know how to run routes. Then the other way around. You can't know how to run routes but bring no physicality to the table. You got to have both. So you see when he drops, it's the hip drop that gets him down. The hip drop decelerates. Now he's able to snap, his hands stay active, and he's able to run out of the break and accelerate back to the ball. Fellas, any wasted time. I drop at a break and I get stuck because my hands don't move, DB's recovering. I drop at a break, but I'm taking all these choppy steps and I'm not getting low, DB's recovering. We have to drop low, trust your hips, and let your arms get you out of the break. Rip the arms out where you're running in and then running out. Self-fade, create explosion with the hips, be able to decelerate, but let's accelerate after we decelerate. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. This is a textbook comeback break here from Jefferson. Great job running out of the break and accelerating back to that ball, not wasting any time at the top of the route. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you would like a 4-week wide receiver gym and on-field training schedule with all the things you need to do during the offseason to improve your skills, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.